That play was produced by David Suskind during the summer when Fred and Gordon took vacations. They were gone for about a month, and David did 4 shows for him. That was the first time I'd worked with David as a producer. Ernie was a marvelous script, a very small, typical Tad Mosel script of a deep probing of personal reactions. Generally, his shows were set in Ohio or the Midwest. And again, he wrote of his background and his growing up area as Paddy wrote of the Bronx, as Horton wrote of Horton, Texas, the background for most of his work, writing personally out of their own experiences. Tad was a wonderful writer, close friend, and has remained so all these years. I saw him last fall for the first time in many years. But we had Ed Begley and Carmen Matthews as the leads in Ernie Barger's 50. The show was predicated upon the fact that when you get to be 50, you retire. You're an old man. You are washed up, and that was Ernie's job. The youngsters in the firm in which he worked were sort of pushing him out, ushering him into retirement. And he didn't have any place to go or anything to do, and there was tension between himself and his wife, and his son kind of ignored him. And it was a very touching, very personal, very real story. I think one of the best that I've ever done.
Your impressions, please, of a very distinctive personality, David Suskind.
David was a hard man to know. A lot of people didn't like him. He had an ego that was quite large. I found him very good. Later years, I did, I think 3 shows, maybe 4 with David, all done in Toronto, and David was in New York. He was a producer in absentia. He worked with the scripts, he worked with the writers, he worked with the casting, and then he let me, the director, take the show off to a foreign land and a foreign place and do the show. Obviously, he would see the dailies as they came in. He'd make some comments. I don't even remember much of that, but David would never be around until you had completed the first cut of the picture. Gave you that kind of freedom. He would then come to Toronto, where we were editing, sit and see the show for the first time, and would make remarkable suggestions, some of which shocked me, some of which I didn't agree with when I first heard them. We'd try them out, they worked. He was a very astute man, and I think you could say that of all of David's dramatic shows, they were good material, they were done with taste, they were cast with good people. Therefore, you have to say David was a very good producer.